Hello, it's William here, and I want to show the new features of Wusik BITSQ8. And we have three sections now, and the biggest new features is the drum machine. But we also have a sample layer, which is tied to the synth morphing sequencer layer. But first, I'm going to talk about the drum layer. Then later, I'm going to talk about the sample layer. The sample layer has a collection of 254 samples, but you can load custom samples too. The drum machine has a collection of a lot of samples divided in categories, and soon you're going to be able to also load custom samples, but not right now. So let me zoom this window here. I'm going to click full screen on the bottom here, so it goes full screen, so it's easier to see on this video. It's also what I usually use. So on the drum layer, I have created this preset called drum test. So I'm just going to hit play, and it's going to play 12 tracks and 64 steps. So let me see, it's following the steps. So steps follower and auto steps 1 and steps 2. So it's a collection of 33 steps and 32 more steps. So let me hit play. So there we go. We have 12 tracks. Each track has a sound selected. And each sound you can have the volume, panning, the reverb amount. We have 6 outputs for this plugin. And you can also change the tuning of the sample. This is not a chromatic tuning, it's just slows down or speeds up the sound. Let me take a look here on the heads. So I'm just messing around, but I'm going to explain now step by step how it works. So I'm going to create a, let me load the factory bank again. So let's see the drum test. I'm going to create another patterning here on program number 33. So I have this synth here. I'm going to disable the synth by lowering the volume. So now it's disabled. If the synth is disabled, the sample player is also disabled because it's tied to each of the synth's sounds. So you have 4 oscillators tied to 4 samplers. And then the drum machine. So by default, if you load the init patch, it's going to show as off. So you just click to select the sound and also enable it. You can use them the cursors on the keyboard, page down, page up, and home, and also the mouse wheel on the mouse, of course. And if you press W on the keyboard, you can preview the sample again. I'm just pressing W. And for this sound, I'm going to leave everything as is. I'm just going to click here on unnamed and put kick and then close with either ESC or by pressing the X icon here on the right, top right. So now you have the first layer, the first track, sorry, which has 32 steps. I can change this by clicking it and going up and down or using the mouse wheel. If I hold Ctrl with the mouse wheel, it goes faster. So I'm going to put for now 16 steps. But the great things about this code is that we also have a mirror mode here on this asterisk. I think I'm pronouncing this right. If I click on it, it's going to enable mirror mode, so I can put 64 steps, and all the stuff I add is going to be mirrored to the other steps, so it's easier to make alternative patterns. So it's like having 4 patterns with 16 steps. So if I press here S2, so this is the first 32 steps and the last 32 steps that I'm showing. I can use also the tab on the keyboard. At the bottom here, you can see there's a small help. You can click on the small help to cycle some extra information. Or you can press F1 for the complete help, which has all the information about the drum sequencer, and F2 for the shortcuts for everything, including the drums area. So the idea is to use the keyboard as much as possible to make things quicker. And let's not forget that, that the Wusik BITSQ8 has 4 layers, A, B, C, and D. So each layer has its own drum machine. So I'm right now working on layer A. So now if I press play, my sound card has a bit of latency, so the visuals are not in sync with the output, but if I use this on a host, the latency is lower and it syncs better. So a few things to keep in mind now is that we have 64 patterns in here. I can select 64 patterns. I can select the 32 steps, the first 32 steps, and then the last 32 steps using the S1 and S2. It's just a way to, because right now I'm looking at 32 steps here at one time, and I have 64 steps actually here as in length. And I can define if I want the next pattern to be number 2, so it's going to play the first pattern and then go to the number 2. But I'm going to leave pattern as 1 because I'm not going to use the song mode for now. And if I click here next to the pattern on this icon, I can see the options I have on how to trigger the drum machine. By default, it's going to be follow host. So if you press play on the host, it's going to start playing at the right position on the pattern or the song, if you're using the song. There's no song mode. When I say song, it's because each pattern has a next pattern option, so that's going to be your song mode. So let's say pattern 1, next pattern 2, next pattern 3, and so on. And you can also put a number of how many times it's going to loop each pattern. So that's how you get the song mode. And going back to the options in here, you have the first note starts. So if I select that, any note is going to start playing the sequence. And I also have selected MIDI notes to patterns, bass note 48, but I can click in here and select another bass note, let's say 60. So my middle note on my keyboard is going to be the first pattern. Then the only way to stop is to actually hit play again on the interface. But you have other options too. You can have like on any note trigger or on any note hold. So let's say as soon as I release a note, it's going to stop. So there's several ways that you can use that. And for now, I'm just going to be triggering from the interface in here, which is letter P. So okay, I have my kicks in here, so I can disable the mirror mode and add some variations in here if I want. Let's put in here. So I'm going to press tab for the final 32 steps. So now if I play, so you can see that it's very easy using the mirror mode to create variations for the 4 patterns inside the pattern. So it's like 16 steps plus times 4 actually, sorry. And another thing, each step has options. So if you right click on a step or press, I think it's O, yeah, it's O, the letter O, or right click on a step, you have a lot of options for each step. So let's say I want my first kick to go to the reverb. So you can hear that the first kick is sending to the reverb. Now I can right click in here, also select reverb. It shows -1 is going to be the original, or you can add 0 to 99. So let me try here. I'm going to put some variations to the second. So there you go. You can also notice that the mouse selects the step, so it follows. So if you're doing everything from the keyboard, just move the mouse away from the interface so it doesn't clash with the keyboard positions and the mouse position. And you can also see that on the options here that also have flam. The flam is going to create 7 steps after the step using 1 by 128 time variation. An easy way to hear that, just let's hear. Let's put on this guy here. No, it's not probability. Probability. No, that's not sure. Oh, it's F for flam. So okay. So we're going to add flam. Now I can hear what's going to happen. Because the flam here is using all the notes in between at 1 by 128 time. So that's great for creating glitch effects. But you can also add stuff like a delay, which is also going to be the 1 by 128. So let's say, let me reset this step here and add a delay. Oh, this is wrong. I have to fix that, but it should be 0 to 7. So if I put 5, you can see it's going to delay a bit. So it delays the step using the time signature of 1 by 128. You can also use the sample offset. The sample offset is not going to be the sample position offset, but the sample selection offset. So let's say I put a sample offset of 2, is going to use the selected Mo kick 7 here and jump 2, so it's going to be the RD9844. So let's hear that. So there you go. So that way you can also have different sounds from the same category or group in a track without having to create 2 tracks. That's great for hi-hats, for instance. So we have also the tuning, the panning, and also the step probability, which can be 100%, so it's always, or it can be something like 40%. So let me reduce here to 16 steps, so it's easier. 8 steps even better. So you can hear that is triggering at 40% of the time. You have for the steps and for the flam separate. You have the reverse, and also have random values. The random values is going to use wherever you put here on the top. So let's say sample index. So now we have random sample index, and here on the sample offset, I'm going to put 20. So it's going to be 0 to 20. So the original sound or any sound towards the sound plus 20, something like that. Of course, this pattern that I'm creating is just to give an example. It doesn't sound very musical at all, just to test it out. So those are the options for the steps, and everything else you can check here on the bottom for some extra information. So like right click on a track name to mute, just right click on the track name to mute, or hold Ctrl to solid instead. Shift M mutes, and Shift M toggles mirror mode on and off. Then what else we have in here? Well, everything's pretty much there. So the idea, let me put here in 16 steps. Let me reset this guy in here. If you also press delete or 0, it's going to reset the step. But let's say here, let me try here. I'm going to reset this one too. But let me do a hi-hat. The hi-hat's easier to use the random options just to get a better idea. Nah, I think my program just stopped working. Don't forget, it's a beta version. I'm still working a few of the problems out. But this is actually the first crash I have for this version. But it's because I was in a group and switched to another group. So I have to check that. But for now, just going to create another track in here with its 16 steps. And I'm going to create with a random sample index. And then I'm going to put the sample index to 10. Then I can use the ladder. What's the one? Let me check here. Oh, Ctrl D is going to duplicate the preset, the step. So I'm going to duplicate the step. So you can hear the different variations happening. What I have to fix now is the change of group. Because let's say I'm in a group when a sound is all the way on 40 and I switch to a group that has only 30 sounds, I have to check for that. So I'm going to put these on my things to fix. So, okay. Let me put back on the top. I'm going to select the emulator sound. So the randomizer is very great to create a bit more dynamic sounds. You can also add to the velocity, which is not working yet. I forgot to add the code for that. That's another thing I have to do. But I'm getting there. There's a lot of things that I have done. And soon the custom option here on the bottom is going to work. And also a small release envelope here on the sound, especially for stuff like the loops. So this is a bass loop. This is a drum loop, and I'm also going to add the option to select portions of the loop and slice the loop and play this on the track. So that's great for breakbeats and stuff like that. I haven't done that yet, but I'm going to be doing. And the custom sounds. What else can we show in here? There's a lot of samples in here. And of course I can copy a pattern to the next one. So now I can go here, next pattern 1, then I go to pattern 1 and put next pattern 2. So it's going to ping pong from one another. So that's just one way to do things. To go from the top area to the tracks by keyboard, just hold Control up and down. And to jump 16 steps, just go left and right with the Control. But everything is there on F2 and F1 for the help and shortcuts. And we also have the new sample area, which can do some very interesting things. So let me show up as a preset that already has something. Let me see if I remember which one is that. This one. So what happens is that each of the 4 oscillators has a sampler too. So oscillator 1 has a sampler 1. And in sampler 1, I have already loaded a sample. And on the sequencer in here, I have just one step, and this step, the tuning is randomizing, and also the reverb. And so it's going to play with the volume down. It's not going to sound this oscillator in here, but the sample is going to sound because it has the volume up. But also select here on options, retrigger. So for each step, it's going to retrigger the sound. So it does this kind of effect. And for this preset, I have just a storm sample, which triggers one time only. Here we have two oscillators, also randomizing a lot of stuff. And this, the sample player is not having it retrigger, the first one, but the second is. So the first one is going to just play one time and stop, while the second one is going to retrigger for each step. So with this new feature, the sampler, you can also add more texture to each of the sounds. In this one, we have 4 bits rendering to create a very crunchy sound for the sample player. I don't think. Let's see how many steps we have in here. 4 steps. Let's see if we can hear the. It's just a filter passing from a noise sample, which is looped, so that's why it's not ending. Let's see if there is another one. No, I only created those 4 yet. I'm going to create more presets soon. But you get the idea. You have those 2 layers are tied together, so each oscillator has a sample player. This is explained in the help area. Also, you can see here the sample tree, volume off on oscillator 3 synth section. So this also gives you an idea that the oscillator tree is tied to the sample tree. And then you have the drum sequencer, which can be used totally separately from everything because you have the MIDI section in here on the top right. So I can select, let's say I can use channel 10 for the drum section and have it be triggered by no triggers. Let me see. Let me go to that drum test again. My MIDI keyboard is now at channel 1, so I won't be able to change that. I forgot how to change that. I have to get the manual for that. So I press the note, it's going to play until the end and it's going to stop. Because it's just a trigger, it's not a hold, and it's also not a follow host. This is the one that I personally like to use because then I can trigger the patterns on my song and it's just easier to handle. Because if I want to change something, I don't have to change the whole location of the patterns or anything like that. So it's note 48. Okay, note 48. If I press any other note, it's going to change the pattern there, you can see. But the great thing is that it plays just one time. 64 steps in this case. So if it's a change to channel 2, nothing happens because I'm sending to channel 1. But my synth here, I can set it to channel 1, and then it's going to be separate. Another option is also to have different outputs. Let's say, I want to have different effects on my instruments. Well, we have 6 outputs, 6 stereo outputs to use, so that should be pretty much enough to divide things into categories and have a different sound. But I think that's it. Sorry if my voice is not very good. I'm going through some health problems, but I'm trying to work and get things done. But the drum machine has a lot of options. You should have a lot of fun with it. I'm going to create several presets soon. The sampler player too has some great options, and I'm going to be adding more, such as granular synthesis, which I know how to do. And the whole code for Wusik BITSQ8 I have been doing from zero because I wanted to be in control of everything that's going on and not to rely on any old code before I started doing my health treatments. So this way I know that what is going on in the code. For instance, the only crash I had today was because of the group categories change, which I know how to fix already. And besides of that, everything is running very good. During the creation of my 30 presets, I already have 31, but during creation of the 30 presets that I didn't have any problems. Everything is working, and I was very careful with the code to know that's working correctly. And don't forget that you can click on the Wusik logo at any time. You can disable the full screen if you want. Then in this section here, you can change the color of the interface, including the brightness. You can make it a bit softer if you're working at night, for instance. Then you can go back to full screen and you have a softer display with a different color. And every time you see those 3 lines icon next, just like the one next to the Wusik logo, it means that it's a menu. So don't forget to check that. So the oscillators have a menu here at the bottom with some interesting options. The one that I added lately was, let's see if I can see, I think it was this one. So that's ring modulation. Oh, I have to fix the high quality icon. It's not changing the color. So I'm pretty much, I would say 90% it's working as I want. I just want to do some final touches and fix a few things that I know that I need to fix. And also going to add option to export a bank with the samples if you have custom samples, so I can distribute or sell if you want the bank with the samples attached already. Otherwise, all the user samples are going to be tied to the sample folder location on the hard drive or SSD, whatever. But with the banks saving the samples inside it, it's going to be much easier because then the samples are already there. I may be adding a few more options to the sample player. The drum machine is pretty much what I wanted. Don't forget to check the bottom area here to click it. I put a click to next to it, so you know you can click it and cycle or totally disable the help if you want. And I think that's it. I don't know what else I can say on this video. Don't forget to watch the other videos on the product page, because I also talk about how the synth section works. and other things. And I think that's it. So thanks for watching, and I hope you appreciate this synth. I have put a lot of knowledge and my own take on things in here, and I really made it so it's very stable and runs great. So that's it. Thanks for watching.